Namaste. Welcome to the Everyday Thought from the Speaker's Yoga Diary, Volume 2, Day 87. Dear listeners, we have been talking about what is being spiritual, and this is the eighth video about that. In the previous video, the speaker has shown how discipline needs to be cultivated, but he has warned the listeners that any cultivation of any virtue that come from outside will boomerang. Such discipline, such virtues will not stay long with us. So where there is self-interest involved, such principles, such virtues that come from outside that we cultivate over a period of time will not stay. And our self-interest will take an upper hand and principles will go to the wind. The reason is that such virtues or principles come from outside and we cultivate such principles out of compulsion. Therefore, such principles or virtues will not stay with us when there is a clash with our self-interest. So the self-interest will always prevail over our principles. So this is what the speaker has emphasized in his previous video, number 86. In this video, number 87, we will continue the discussion about what is being spiritual and what the speaker has said in the previous video. Let's continue that. The speaker has said there is a relationship between awareness and virtues. Both virtues and awareness cannot be separated. They are not two different. Where there is awareness, there is bound to raise this virtue. Virtues will spring automatically where there is self-awareness. The more we develop the awareness, that is the consciousness, the more virtues will spring from that state of awareness. So virtues cannot be separated from awareness. They go with the awareness. The virtues are an integral part of that state of awareness. So there is no need to focus specially on cultivating virtues. Such a thing will not arise where there is a total consciousness or awareness in ourselves. So this is the relationship between awareness and virtues. There are three important virtues that spring from within. And we You need not become conscious of those virtues, but they come automatically and stay with us. They do not arise in us out of any volition, any force, any compulsion, but they spring naturally from that state of awareness. And what are these three virtues, most important virtues, cardinal virtues? They are number one, simplicity, number two, contentment, and number three, truthfulness. These three cardinal virtues will automatically come into existence and stay with us. And we need not be conscious of these virtues, but they come. So, as we have more and more awareness, as we develop more and more awareness, these three virtues will also develop automatically and naturally. Let's take the first cardinal virtue, simplicity, in this discourse. Being simple is a beautiful expression. Mima, we have heard about it hundreds of times. We have read it in text. We have listened such an expression in many discourses from the gurus. And we may have understood this particular word simplicity as nothing but having minimum material needs. It doesn't mean that you should wear only or you should possess only a pair of dresses or a few utensils or a few things and objects in your living home. Many of us understand the word simplicity in the material sense. That's true in one aspect. It's true that they need to have a minimum material needs and we need to work to fulfill such material needs. But the speaker is trying to enlighten this in a different way. We have comforts and we have luxuries and we have the minimum basic needs. See these three dimensions of our living: minimum basic needs, comforts, and luxuries. We need minimum basic needs to survive in this world, without which we cannot live in this world. Survival is very important. Say, for instance, food, having shelter, and cloth to cover our body. And beyond these three, there might be some basic needs. Say, for instance, health. We need health facilities. Whenever we get some ailment, we go to a hospital, we meet a doctor, we get it diagnosed, and we go to a medical shop, we buy medicines. These are needs. And these needs are minimal, basic, fundamental for our survival. We cannot live without those. And they are not desires, remember. The speaker is not using them or referring them to desires. Desires are totally different, but needs are different. Basic needs for our survival. So we cannot have any compromise on this fulfilling of these minimal basic needs for our survival. Let's move to the comforts. Yes, we need comforts. So when we have basic needs fulfilled, we would like to have some minimum comforts. Yes. To make our living little smooth, a little happier materialistically, remember. We need not to struggle and invest more time and energy on doing certain things to meet our ends. So we need certain comforts. The aim of the comforts is to make our living little easier. So we go for comforts. And there is nothing wrong in having comforts. As for instance, having a fridge, having a videocon machine, washing machine, having a grinder, having a set of sofa, chairs, table, computer, and so on. These are comforts. These make our life little easier, make our life move smoothly. That we need not run here and there to do certain things. So, in order to save time and our biological energy, we need such comfort so that we can divert such time and energy to do certain things more creatively, for creativity in our life. That is the purpose of having comforts. To make our life more meaningful and creative, we need comforts. I hope the listeners are following this particular point. The speaker has already explained the necessity of having minimal basic needs to be fulfilled. Then the necessity of having minimal comforts. What is the purpose of having comforts? The purpose of having comforts is to make our life smooth, a little hassle free, free from facing the difficult task, hardships, to free ourselves from hardships, to make our life little smooth, so that the time and energy saved can be used for creativity, to make our life, to make our living meaningful, purposeful. We can use such energy and time for contemplation, for reflection, for using such time and energy for social service activities and so on. So I hope these listeners understand the crux of having comforts of basic needs and comforts. And there is no any difficulty in understanding these two things. And there need not be any clash between these two minimal basic needs and minimal comforts. There need not be any kind of confusion about the necessity of fulfilling our basic needs and the necessity of having comforts in our life. Then we move on to luxuries. Luxuries are dangerous. To possess more than what is, to possess more than what we have that can fulfill our minimum basic needs and minimum comforts, can turn to be luxuries. And luxuries are unnecessary. It's like go on accumulating things and objects and stuffing your house. Having one car is all right, but possessing half a dozen cars amounts to be a luxury. Having six pairs of dress is all right, but having 365 pairs of dress, what do you call it? It is a luxury. The speaker is hopeful of making the listeners understand this particular point luxuries. Luxuries divert your attention. Luxuries take away your time and energy. When you keep on possessing objects, more and more objects, then you become extra cautious. You need to invest more energy and time to safeguard such things and objects, such accumulated things and objects. More procurement, more procurement adds more confusion, makes your life more problematic because your mind is more diverted to possess objects and things, how to accumulate, how to amass wealth, and so on. Therefore, you have little time left with you to focus your attention on contemplation. You cannot make your life meaningful and more creative and significant. So, luxuries divert your attention, make your life more problematic. It will not, the luxuries will not make your life meaningful. So, here you see the difference between these three: having minimum basic needs fulfilled, having minimum comforts and having more luxuries. There is nothing wrong in fulfilling your basic needs, as the speaker has already said, that fulfilling basic needs is a must. We need to give top priority to this because fulfilling basic needs is a must for our survival. Similarly, having comforts in our life is essential because we need to make our life little easier, smooth, and comfortable so that we can invest time and energy more creatively, more meaningfully to make our life purposeful. But having more luxuries will cause more confusion, more problems. So being simple does not mean not having material objects and things, but to what extent? To the extent to fulfill our basic needs, to the extent that they can bring us some minimum comforts, but not to the extent that they become luxurious in our life so that it will cause more damage to our living. It causes more tension, anxiety, stress in our life. When we have more luxuries, when we have the sense or desire of getting more and more objects, then we run here and there. Then we unnecessarily dissipate our energy and time. And very little time is left with us to focus our attention on making our life meaningful, purposeful, and creative. This is what we need to understand being simple. The speaker hoped that the listeners have followed this particular virtue. And this particular virtue, being simple, will come automatically from within us as we develop more and more consciousness or awareness. There is no need to cultivate this particular virtue, no need to follow this particular virtue simply because somebody is saying or some text is indicating or pointing out. There is no need, but it will come. We will become aware of these 3 points in being simple, that is, becoming conscious of minimum basic needs, becoming conscious of having comforts, and becoming conscious of having more luxuries. So you will automatically distinguish, you become very alert of these 3 aspects in being simple, and you will make your life meaningful, purposeful, and creative accordingly, without anybody's direction, without anybody's instruction, and you will follow such virtue, and such virtue will come and stay constantly with us. And this virtue, being simple, is not something that comes today and stays with us and goes off tomorrow. No, it will stay with us constantly till we breathe last. And we become conscious moment to moment of this particular virtue being simple. So you become the very embodiment of this simplicity, and the simplicity will go with your life, with your living. Namaste. Thank you very much.